Most people in life are wondering, how do I make a life worth living and a retirement worth having? They can't always figure that out because they don't always find their skill sets, their talents, until they've worked in a few positions. And then they really start to thrive. They really start to do things really well. But what I've learned in helping people to market their own business practices is that sometimes they spend so much time in the process of doing their business that they're actually losing money. I once helped a realtor look over her project and her process, and what we discovered that out of the hundreds of hours she was putting into her work, she really wasn't making that much per hour at all. It sort of changed her entire life. After a few months after she finished my course, she came back and wanted to literally get her money back. I'm like, sorry, what you got was training. What you paid for was training. What you paid for was the design of a site, which we did. We had a few bumps along the way, but listen, the energy that was invested in doing this work is over with. There's always someone who wants a deal, but the truth is we don't always have deals to give people. We all have to make a living. We all have to make a life. And what I've discovered in the humblest of times, in the most difficult of situations, is that it's easy to make a living. What I mean is we need to sleep, which we have the right to do most places, as long as the local people are not vile towards us and violent towards us or violating our rights towards us. We also have the ability to get food. And sometimes there are loving companies, and I've met a handful that really care about people who've gone through cybercrime, who really care about people who've been experiencing identity theft, and really care about the poverty in the world. And they will lovingly help to make sure that you are fed. I won't list the names of those companies right now, but in my Inside program, inside my locked website, I will share those names so that those companies are celebrated by you and others who want to support our ministry with loving gift cards to people who are in struggle. Whether they're an individual who lives in the streets like me after cybercrime on his life, or whether there are people who are single parents who literally found themselves pregnant and decided to go on through the process of having a child and they're in struggle. We always want to take care of those who take care of us, and loyalty is what works in this world. In life, we have moments of time to tell people the truth, and I can tell you the companies whose employees are vile all the time. I can also tell you the companies that have a handful of companies or a handful of subsets of their companies that do a wonderful job at looking at people, loving on people, and just showing them proper regard. I've been so pleased with my experiences at one of the shops that I expected to be really hurt by, but in truth, they have been wonderful and kind. They've never given me one iota of trouble. They've never tried to do anything to harm my life, and that's so much night and day over other companies where literally you walk in and the retail employees are such on a stance that you are somehow violating their space, that they're literally violating our rights. They're talking about our purchases, they are gossiping and joking about us, and in some cases, the majorly women and managers are actually calling community services trying to get some help for someone that they don't have any lawful right to talk to or talk about, especially in the role of that company where they could be sued and their company could be sued for the violations of privacy, the violations of human dignity, and the violations of human rights. In life, we have moments of time to tell people how we feel, and I'm telling you straight on that there are loving people in this world still who will help a stranger, more so than the people that are supposed to know us, like us, and trust us from our business life, from our career life, from our home life, from our family life, from our sibling set. It doesn't matter that strangers are often more loving and kind to people than actual people who are supposed to care about us. Isn't that interesting? In life, we have moments of time to tell people how I feel, and in this audio cast, I'm telling you that there are good people in this world still. But we must fight for peace. We must honor our life, and we must be very careful with our mouths, because when we say things, we want people to understand why we're saying them. We're trying to put them back in their place of where their boundaries begin and end. Your boundaries begin and end only and solely with you underneath our federal laws, and my boundaries begin and end with solely me. If I choose to ask you for assistance, that's one thing, but it is not your right to try and force your assistance on me. Your best bet anytime you want to help a person is simply walk up to them and say, hey, it looks like you might be in a spot of struggle right now. What could I do to help you today? Do I have any funds that could be of use to you today in terms of getting a meal or getting some new clothing or getting a haircut or doing things that will help you to get your life back on track? Or do I possibly have some people in my network, my professional contacts, that might help to employ you so that you could really get your life on track? But what you must understand is that with a homeless person, it's not a one-off situation. That's helpful to make sure that we get fed in the by and by, but it's those long-term relationships that really matter to those of us who are sincerely trying to get back on our feet. It's those companies who really care about homelessness. It's amazing how one shop across one part of the street will lovingly always add a little extra food because they're planning to throw it away anyway because they make it, and if it doesn't sell, they have to time it out, which is how it's always been. Even when I was 15 years old and working at a fast food restaurant, that was the truth, that all sorts of food had different time limits of how long it could be literally sold and still be considered safe, sanitary, etc. And yet then there's a shop across the other side of the street that vilely will attack you for standing in line just because you want to buy an iced tea. They've never told you this before, but their manager will lie about how she's told you a million times that they don't do this. Bullshit. They've been feeding me that way for a while now because for some reason some idiot locked their front door. And yet we've got companies that don't have outside tents to sit in, and we have other companies that do lovingly allow people to sit out in the shade and in the sun to enjoy a meal. Isn't it fascinating how different companies handle different things? But in life we have moments of time to really help people. And how we help people is by simply asking, what can I do to help you today, in this moment? What is your goal today? It could be just as something as simple as, well, I need a safe passage on a bus. Would you like to ride the bus with me so I don't get crapped on? Or it could be, I really need help getting a new pair of pants and they cost $10. Or I really need a new pair of underpants, and that really takes quite a conversation. Although I did have a little old lady buy me a couple pair of underpants. It was the most loving kind thing she could do. She also bought me a pair of shoes, which I loved until I couldn't wear them anymore because they were freezing my feet with the steel toes in them. And that wasn't her fault. It was just something I learned through the experience of living outdoors in the winter. In life, we have moments of time to tell people how we feel, and I just want you to know I really appreciate those who've been supporting my homelessness initiative, who've been asking me, what can I do? And the best thing you can do is use the power of one in math. The power of one in math says you're going to reach out to your network, and you're going to put together a little bundle of cash by just asking everybody to donate $10. And then you're going to put it on a gift certificate of some kind or a gift card, and you're going to pass it along to me, and I will either make sure that it's used or make sure it's used by someone who really needs it. Thanks for listening.